politically motivated?
You have to excuse the Donald for excusing himself.
5-year-old is he started.
You would say that.
You're running for president of the United States.
He may sometimes sound like a little kid.
I didn't start it.
But I didn't start it. But sir, with all due respect, that's the argument of a 5-year-old.
I didn't start it. No.
But a 5-year-old with manners.
You said, excuse me. You used good manners.
And if this sounds familiar,
excuse me,
that's because we first focused on Trump's favorite verbal weapon last summer, making this,
excuse me,
the sequel. We thought it deserved a sequel when the Washington Post counted 18 excuse me's in just 1 hour of a CNN town hall.
Whether or not you think it was battery or not,
one.
You've suggested you might.
Excuse me. I didn't suggest.
2, 3.
So it doesn't concern you that initially.
4.
Excuse me.
5, 6.
We're supporting Japan. We're supporting. Excuse me.
Actually, when you add them all up,
do you trust? Excuse me.
18 was an undercount.
And a lot of that is. Excuse me.
20. Sort of makes Bernie Sanders' lonely single interjection.
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Seem like a poor excuse for an excuse me compared to Trump's 20. Maybe the Donald could add a little variety.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Excusez-moi.
Break down those cultural walls.
Disculpe.
Even when he interrupts himself, his own story, the Donald excuses himself.
When he said, we had a big day, we won Utah. Excuse me, I won Arizona.
Mr. Trump, you are excused.
Excuse me.
Jeannie Mose.
Excuse me.
CNN.
Excuse me.
New York.
Excuse me. I didn't suggest.
I'm going to try to get through this next story without saying excuse me, but I'm telling you that's going to be difficult. A federal lawsuit was recently filed over a North Carolina law that blocks transgender individuals from using public restrooms. The American Civil Liberties Union of North Carolina says that the law is a violation of federal laws banning sex discrimination, and the group wants a judge to declare the state law unconstitutional. North Carolina House Speaker Tim Moore defends the bill and says it's really geared towards protecting people's privacy. But Charlotte's Mayor Jennifer Roberts says that she was appalled by the bill and says it's, quote, literally the most anti-LGBT legislation in the country, end quote. Ask your Google Plusers what you think about it. Do you think this should be considered unconstitutional? Starting off first with Kate, your thoughts.
Well, okay. It is discriminatory. The way the law is written, it is. If your gender identity is female and you were naturally born a male and you're transitioning, you should be allowed to use the female restroom. If that's what you're identifying with now, I get why they're opposing this law. But in my mind, there are so many more important issues on the table that we could be dealing with. You know, whatever you do, that's fine, but don't make it law and take up bureaucracy and red tape time. We have so many people that have no homes, have no food, all this other stuff. You know, feminism didn't stop domestic violence, so all this stuff isn't going to stop the things they want to stop.
Look at how Chris is agreeing with you. Kempton, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is just a pure attack on the LGBT community. We should be making progress and making change to make more people comfortable. We're talking about a man who identifies as a woman, dressed in women, want to go to the women's washroom. Imagine the same woman going into a male washroom. That would create a much bigger fuss. So move on, legislator.
Let's move on. Glenn, you've got the last word here in the last 20 seconds.
Well, okay, I came up with a theory as to how this was supposed to work, especially after a university stopped this behavior because some pervert went into the ladies' room with a cell phone. So here's how this works. I would like you to go into the men's room, walk up to the urinal. Does your plumbing work with that plumbing? If it does, you're in the right place.
Love to hear what you have to say on that one. Go ahead and post your comments on our Facebook page. Thanks, everybody. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, Glenn, that's a pervert argument.
that's his stance, exactly. You know, it's what you're born with. There's one of two, and you know.
You can go into the one with the closed door, right?
Right.
Well, in Europe and in Asia, I believe, but in Europe, I know for sure they have plenty of unisex facilities now, and that solves everything.
I really, in looking at this, thought, you know, there have been cases where they found men saying, "Oh, I gender identify as a woman," just so they can get into the ladies' room with a camera.
Well, your argument works with gay men too. Like, should gay men be allowed to go into men's washroom and